So the spiders haven't left my house since Halloween last night, but today is All Saints Sunday, and they're pretty friendly, so we're going to talk about the saints. And I want to start off by asking a question. Just what does it take to be a saint? Now, we can handle a question like that, right? There are lots of things I expect that we understand fairly well, at least at some basic level. We're smart people. We understand something of the profound nature of the size of the world in which we live, and I bet we at least get the basics, the concepts of gravity and economics, of love and cellular biology, of politics and history, even of religion. I know we can wrap our minds around the basic concepts of sainthood, but what I find a bit harder to understand is just where does Jesus get his information? I mean, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek and the peacemakers and those hungry for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful and the persecuted? Really? I wonder, just what did Jesus see that justifies these statements when he looked around at a world all about him, in a land in a time when the people were oppressed under the yoke of the Roman Empire, when sickness and poverty and violence and hypocrisy and injustice were a daily part of the landscape? I mean, just a cursory look around at the world in our times challenges Jesus' teaching, doesn't it? I mean, when we can see so many who are suffering, so much poverty and violence and unfairness and faithlessness among our people in this nation, and blessed are these? Really, since when have we treated them as blessed? When was the last time we as a nation earnestly appreciated the poor and the humble in our midst? When have we as a people risen up to express our collective thanks who work tirelessly to campaign for peace in the world? And the poor and humble of spirit? What attention do they receive in a land where it seems that the louder and uglier one criticizes one's opponents, the more authority one wields? When does our culture of winners and superstars celebrate meekness, humility, or the willing sacrifice of personal comfort for the sake of others? Blessed are the poor and meek, and peaceful and persecuted people? Where in the world does Jesus get his information to draw these conclusions? That's just the thing. Perhaps it isn't from the world that Jesus draws his conclusions. Maybe he isn't drawing conclusions at all. I don't think Jesus just looked up one day and despite everything he saw, sort of blindly came up with these proclamations we call the Beatitudes. He isn't providing commentary on the world as we see it. He's revealing the world for all time and all its beauty and brokenness as he knows it to be. Blessed. He knows the meek and the merciful are not forgotten. The peacemakers are not unappreciated. The persecuted are not abandoned. In fact, says Jesus, they're blessed, and in time they will receive everything they need. And how exactly is that supposed to come to pass? Well, this is where the saints we remember today come into the picture. This is where the saints shine forth through their lives of service and faithfulness and hopefulness for a world so filled with selfishness and suffering and cynicism. It is the saints who remember the poor and the meek and the peacemakers and the persecuted. And I believe this is where you and I come into the picture. When Jesus speaks of a time when those who are hungry for righteousness will be satisfied, when those who mourn will be comforted, or those who practice mercy will receive mercy in return, or when the meek will inherit the earth, when Jesus talks this way, I hear a calling for us in the here and now, not just in some future, but in the here and now, for those of us who can, to help bring such blessings to fruition in God's name to those who need them. With these Beatitudes, Jesus is showing us all a way to live with purpose, a way that is meek and peaceful and comforting and blessed, no matter our condition or our place in life. Michael Crosby, a Franciscan monk, sort of puts it like this: God sees the conditions of God's world. God cares about it, so God calls upon us. We respond. We offer care to others in God's name, and in these others we see God. So God sees and cares and calls us. We respond and care and see God, who sees and cares and calls us, and on this blessed cycle goes. Bottom line is we're in this world together. People of all sorts and persuasions and conditions. Nowhere in all of Holy Scriptures are we taught that we live for ourselves alone. Nowhere does Jesus witness to a private faith in God that serves just to comfort the individual. We are made for each other. It's just that way. We need each other even when we don't think we do, even when we don't see eye to eye, even when we seem to have nothing in common, even when we think we have no reason to be concerned, even when we don't really like each other very much. We're called to come together for God's purposes, to live in solidarity with the poor of spirit, with the mourners, the meek, the merciful, the pure, the peacemakers, and the persecuted. In fact, we may well find that we are those people sometimes, or that we're becoming those people when we devote ourselves to walk in the way of Jesus. My point is that we are all here to be blessed and to be a blessing for each other in ways that we are able, and with God's help, perhaps in ways that we never knew we were able. We're called to God's purposes, foolish or unrealistic as they may seem, because, a foolish person may be the one who loves others that no one will love. A foolish person may be the one who stands for the dignity and rights of those that society ignores or denigrates. Above all, the foolish person may be the one who acknowledges, finally and forever, that it is God who leads all things, all nations, all peoples. And God leads them not through blatant power, but by self-sacrificing love, while giving us the choice to follow in that way or not. The foolish in the eyes of this world may finally be those who simply come to believe in these Beatitudes and live by them. And maybe that is ultimately all it takes to be a saint.